You just kind of need to have a deep feeling and that there's something more for you out there. And so I recently moved to a new city. Well, actually I moved to a new country entirely, but it wasn't because I had it all figured out. I had an inner knowing that I was ready for something new. I just could feel that, and I didn't want to live with the regret of never having explored that. So here we are. If you're someone who is trying to decide whether to move to a new city, a new country, a different state, or if you're already in the midst of it, this video is for you. So let's get into some questions and answers. Question 1, how do you know when it's time to start over, even if your life isn't necessarily falling apart? I didn't move because I hated my life. I think it was actually the complete opposite. I really loved my life back home. I was just so comfortable, and that was the problem. I had my routines, I had my community, I had my friends. I was living at home with my parents. It was a really sweet setup. But I had been doing this now for so many years that I felt that I, as a person, wasn't really growing anymore. That's when I started getting the nudge of it's time to try something new. I always had this idea that I would go off and try other places before I decided where I wanted to officially settle down. And it was getting to the point that where I was living, I was so comfortable that I almost wanted to settle down there. But that would mean that I would never go out and explore and try other places before settling in my hometown. So I kind of had to force myself to make that decision that it's now or never. Go out, try something new, and you can always come back. Where there's signs it was time to go, even if you ignore them at first. I think with anything, there are always signs. It's really hard to just pinpoint specific moments. For a couple years, I had a couple opportunities to move in with friends that I really like, and it would have been a great opportunity to become more independent, have my own space. And I just didn't really take enough of an initiative to make that happen, and I felt some resistance towards it, and I really didn't understand why. Now I think it's because it wasn't right for me. I would have loved to have lived with them, but then I would be tied down to rent. I was fortunate enough, because I was living with my parents, that I didn't have a lease or anything, so it made being able to come out here a lot easier. As far as choosing a city, that's where I really saw the signs. I was in between a couple cities, a couple different countries as well. I just started connecting and meeting with a lot of people who had already undergone this journey, ended up in this country or in the same city, and therefore I was able to find my immigration attorney, I was able to find my accountants, everything that I needed I found really easily, and they were recommended to me by other people. So it just seemed like the path to here was simple. On top of that, I chose a city that, to be completely honest, I'd only been here one time before for probably 3 days, which is wild. But when I came here that time, I just felt so safe. I love the weather. It's so similar to back home in Florida. And I also just love that it's by the water. There was just so many good things about the quality of life here that I wanted to experience more of. Obviously, Florida is known for their oranges. The city I'm in now is also known for their oranges. So I just think the more that time goes on, the more I realize these connections and these signs that I'm I think I made the right choice, and I'm well on my way. What were you feeling in your old life that made you want a change? I mean, I go back to the idea of stagnation, of just being so comfortable in life and really enjoying it. I lived with my parents. I have a great relationship with them. I was just so lucky that they really made my life easy. I felt like I was becoming more dependent on them as opposed to becoming more independent as an individual in their 20s, as I should be. And that kind of started to become a little concerning for me. I need something that pushes me to feel like an adult in many ways. While I could have done that just moving out of my parents' place into a local apartment, I think I just wanted that bigger change. On top of that, I think things with work financially weren't changing. As far as my hobbies go, I love ballroom dancing, but it also was getting really expensive. Prices were going up too. It just didn't seem aligned with my goals anymore, in the sense that financially I want to be comfortable, and I'm working on things behind the scenes constantly that I don't always want to share what I'm doing. So I just wanted an independent space to be able to really put my head down and focus on the systems that are going to set me up for the future. Did you feel guilty for wanting something different when your old life wasn't bad? Yeah, 100%. I felt so lucky and privileged and just blessed to have the life that I did back at home. And so wanting something different was kind of what are you doing? And part of it too is just this whole idea of just having this urge to want to leave your hometown. Sometimes it can come off as being oh, you think you're better than whoever has stayed in their hometown. And it's it's not like that at all. It's just in my system, I just need to know what else is out there, I guess, to know if it is the right decision for me or not. On top of that, Mel Robbins has a phrase or a saying where she just says like, in your 20s, like move to that new city and make those connections. So I think I really took that to heart, especially entering my late 20s, or well, I guess I've been in my late 20s now, but being in my late 20s, I moved to that new city. But yeah, there's always like a sense of guilt of like, you know, leaving your family behind. They're getting older as well, not being like physically as close to them anymore in case they need something. So yeah, there's a lot of feelings of guilt there, but at the same time, you know, I just feel like you have to go and live your life and everything will fall into place. At least I hope. What were you craving more of? Freedom, creativity, slowness, connection? Yeah, I was craving, I want to say a lot more slowness. I love like a peaceful life. I like quietness. I like music. I like just feeling at peace. I would spend a lot of my time looking at comfort creators on platforms like YouTube, specifically artists, and just admiring their work and just kind of being jealous of their setup. You know, a lot of them are European, ironically enough, and I just loved like how cozy they would make their home, how they would spend their time here painting and working on their craft. And so I think that's something that I was really looking for, where I chose. Your life is really centered around community and experience as opposed to like career. And so I love the slow lifestyle, and that's what I was seeking when I came out here. What were you most afraid of when making the decision to leave? Honestly, just making the wrong choice, like location or just not being able to enjoy it. I think I just wasn't sure how I was going to react. It is a big shock to your system, and I'm someone who thrives on routine, so obviously this is like completely disrupting that for me. But also I'm aware that like I need to give it time to establish routines, and once I am able to do that, I think the transition is going to be a lot easier. But that's why I'm giving myself a year out here to really give it a good shot. From there, kind of decide, do I keep going with it or is it time to go back home? So to that, the next question is, what if I fail and have to come back? Yeah, so that was definitely something that was in the back of my mind. But I think the more I talked to the people and the more I sat with like my own thoughts, it's like, it's fine. You can come back. Like, that's the beauty of all of this. And it's not really seen as a failure because you took a step that most people aren't even able to or willing to do. You know, like moving is always uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, like it creates so much growth, whether you end up staying there long term or not. It's an experience that I think is going to teach you a lot of valuable lessons, whether they're positive or not, but they're lessons that you can take with you moving forward. So I really don't think there is any failing. Was there a final moment or realization that made you go, I have to try? You know, I wish there was. I think that'd be an easier way of just being like, oh, like this is how I made my decision. For me, there wasn't exactly like one moment. It was more so I had to like acclimate myself to the idea. So I would do some research. I would like watch people's experiences. I would look at different cities. So I would just kind of focus on one step at a time. What is the next step that I have to take here? And it wasn't so much of like you have to decide right now, yes or no. It was more so like, as I did research, I started convincing myself that I do think that the benefits outweigh the cons and the disadvantages of moving out here. And what helped me like prevent me from backing out of it was I stopped thinking so much about like all of the implications about this. I kept the long-term vision in mind, like how I visualized my life being out here when I finally got settled and comfortable. That's what kept me going. I stopped thinking about like all the thousands of steps I had to take in order to be here. If you just keep telling yourself, this is such a big decision, this is gonna affect my life forever, like you are gonna freeze. You're not gonna make the decision that you need to make, so just focus on the next step. What part of yourself did you have to trust in order to make the leap? I mean, that's a big one. I think you just have to really trust yourself in knowing that you are resilient and can get through hard times. Like, I always say that being out here feels a lot like being a freshman in college all over again, where you really have to throw yourself into new activities, new clubs. Like, obviously being an introvert, which I say 1,000 times, it's not super easy for me to like want to go out and be social, but I also understand that is how you make friendships, that's how you build community, so that in the future you are comfortable doing that. I just had to trust that like I've done that before and I can do it again. Until you just have to prepare yourself to know that there's going to be good times, there's going to be bad times, there's going to be times where you're going to be homesick, but like, you're strong, everyone goes through this, you can do it. You just kind of have to find why you're doing this in the first place and just like stick with that and let that drive you through and just know that you're ready. And if not, you'll figure it out. So this next question is kind of like twofold. So it's, how do I trust myself to make a big life change when I feel unsure? And how do I trust my intuition when everyone else seems to be playing it safe? I can be a very indecisive person. So again, that's why I say like just focus on the next step as opposed to like everything else you have to do because that's too overwhelming and that's gonna make me not want to make the right decision for myself. So how do you trust yourself to make like that big life change? You really have to ask yourself, like, if you don't make this decision, are you gonna be able to live with yourself, or are you always gonna have that thought of like, ah man, like I wonder what life would have been like if I had tried? And then I mean the other idea, when everyone is playing it safe, I mean, how do you really know they're playing it safe? That's the other thing, like put it into perspective. You don't really know everyone's like personal business. When you play it safe, it's great. Like once you're comfortable and you're in that phase of life where that's where you want to be, fantastic. But if you're like me, where you feel like now is the time to go out and explore and make mistakes or have those successes, I just would rather do it now than do it later. And a big thing I've learned too in trusting your intuition is just like your intuition is always like very calm. I know when my intuition's talking to me because it's just a calm inner feeling. It's not like a stressed out urgency, like you need to do this or something bad's gonna happen. It's more just like, you need to do this. Like this is gonna be good for you. And it's just a constant feeling that's there, but it's not causing me stress. So I felt that a lot with moving to this new city. Keep doing it. I know it's a lot. I know it's overwhelming, but you are meant to be there. If I had felt a lot of stress and a lot of like questioning of like, why am I going here? Is this even the right place? I would have to explore that further and ask myself, like, why am I moving to this city? Is it like, am I trying to escape something? And then maybe that's when you have to take a closer look at the root of the problem, because moving to a city might just be a surface level band-aid and not actually the solution to your problem. And just knowing that really any decision you make in life is risky, and if you feel excited to some extent about it, then just let that emotion carry you through, because something good is going to come out of it, and that's just what I keep telling myself. Okay, so these questions are good. So what did you grieve when you left, even if you were excited? So yeah, I was excited, but also, like I said, I'm a creature of habit. I like routine. I like knowing what to do every day. So the idea of coming out here meant restructuring everything and not having routine for a while, and that is incredibly uncomfortable for someone like me. I grieve my routine, obviously, and just the comforts of like having a community and having like my family close by. I think that's always very difficult. You know, even just going to the grocery store, you know what everything is, you know the brands that you like to use, you know, like you like the grocery store that you go to. And in part, I'm also grieving the idea that like I most likely will not be living with my parents again. And so like kind of closing that chapter was also a bit difficult, because I spent most of my life living with my parents, and knowing that I think this is the start of my independence, and whether I choose to stay out here long term or like go back to the States, I think I will be living on my own at that point. And so it's just kind of a wild idea to think that like that chapter has ended. I look back on it fondly, so we'll see where life takes us. I also said that once I went to college, I wasn't going to go back to live with my parents, and look what happened. You never know what life's going to throw at you. What did people say when you told them? Did anyone make you second guess it? So for the most part, I want to say that like my family and friends were very supportive of the decision, and I think they were very proud of me for, you know, making such a big life change. And so it felt nice to have that support and that excitement when sometimes like I had my own doubts about the decision. Did anyone make me doubt it? Yeah, sure. I want to say my dad was not so fond of the idea. He didn't want me to go so far away, which I understand. You know, like if I need something, they can't just quickly come over and help me out. It is scary on both sides, but at the same time, I'm like, everyone takes risks in life, and this is just gonna be mine. It was one of those things where I just had to make the decision first in my mind before I shared it with those who may have objections. Once he realized I wasn't changing my mind, I think he became much more supportive, which I like so appreciated. What was your mindset? Were you running towards something or away from something, or both? I want to say I was running towards something. I wasn't really running away from anything because I was so comfortable. So I want to say I was running more towards like growth and opportunity and connections. You know, I think people say move to a big city when you're young. When you think of a big city in the US, I usually think of like New York, but that's just too overwhelming for me. You know, like that's not big city for me. I can't do that. Out here, I feel like it was much more the lifestyle that I was seeking. And so I think I was running towards more of a life of peace, life on my own terms, of creativity, and just one that kind of just matches my nervous system. I don't like loud sounds. I don't like surprises. I don't like, I don't know, spontaneity. I just like calmness. And so I can kind of create that out here for myself. What would you say to the version of you who was too scared to make this choice a year ago? or really to anyone who's scared to make the choice now. Just the idea of like moving away from my hometown has been an idea I've had for like many years, and I just didn't feel confident enough in myself, or I didn't feel like it was the right time. And while I put it off for many years, I think that's okay. Like, I don't necessarily wish I had done it sooner, because I have so many incredible memories that I created during those years. What I would just say is that, like, just trust yourself. You'll know when it's the right time, and you're gonna do it anyway, so just be excited for it, and then just enjoy the journey there. Like, enjoy your life here for what it is, be grateful for it, and just know that you will also have something else to look forward to in the future. Trust the timing of everything. Everything is preparing you for, you know, the future. And I realize now that we've gone through most of this video without me actually telling you where I moved to, only because I don't think it's super important, but I recently moved to Spain. So let's talk about like this new chapter and how it's felt. I haven't been here too long. Keep that in mind, only like a couple weeks. Next question is, what does it feel like to be anonymous in a new place? Is it lonely, freeing, or both? Definitely both. When I first got here, I mean, I was really excited to meet people. I had a plan for it. I was going to sign up for dance classes and honestly like art classes, any kind of classes that was group-based for me to meet people. I got here and learned quickly that in August, most small businesses close for the entire month to go on vacation, which is fantastic, but that also means that my plan for making friends is completely screwed. So it made it a bit lonely because now it is a bit harder to meet people. However, there's still like many opportunities to do so. I also am someone who likes to spend a lot of time alone. I'm a homebody. I could spend weeks honestly being here, creating art, writing, doing videos, whatever it is, and feel happy. But I know that community is important, so I push myself to go out and meet people and do social things. It feels a little bit lonely, but I also trust in the process and know that like I'll find my friends out here. It'll be fun, and I don't want to force it. There's no reason to force friendships. Being anonymous also just gives you so much perspective into just like how big the world is, you know, like having to go out and have food on my own. You know, you do a lot of people watching, and it's really cool to have time with your own thoughts, to be able to just observe others and their lifestyles. It gives you perspective, which I'm also super appreciative of. What has surprised you emotionally since moving? This is gonna be different for everyone. For me, I think it's just how I've adjusted to living independently. This type of lifestyle really works for me. How much my stress levels have gone down. Even my Aura ring is telling me that like my resting heart rate has gone down, and my resilience score is up a lot more. So have you had moments that made you question it? Definitely. In living out here, I've had to ask myself, like, did I really need to make this gigantic move? Or could I have just like found an apartment in my hometown, or just moved to a different state or a different city and just kind of had the same experience and the same growth and realizations? At the same time, like, I'm way too new to this to actually be able to come to a conclusion to that. There's gonna be so much growth here, really, because it is a completely new culture. I have to become more fluent in Spanish. The benefits will be much greater in the long run. And then when things go wrong here and not the way that I planned, that's when I question it too. But at the same time, I realize that I am a bit of a control freak, and so I just have to keep reminding myself to learn to go with the flow a little bit, that like everything is happening for a reason. If it goes wrong, it's because something better is going to come because of it. I'm trying to look at it as more of a life lesson, as something that I need to learn, and kind of just roll with it. Yeah, there are moments that I question it. And last one, can you really start over gently, or is it always chaotic? I do not like chaos. So for me, this has been one of the easiest moves that I've gone through, and I think a big reason for that is I gave myself so much time to prepare for it, like over 6 months. I don't remember, maybe even like 8 months, 10 months. I gave myself a lot of time, and I didn't necessarily give myself a hard deadline. I gave myself like a range of months that I wanted to be out here by. But in the beginning, it was more so like, what is the next step that I have to do? Maybe that's journaling, or maybe that's like researching the city or making a Pinterest board to like inspire me. You can move slowly to it. I definitely expected to have a lot more breakdowns than I did, but the fact that I gave myself so much time and really only focused on the next step and not all thousands of steps I had to do made the biggest difference in moving. So you know what system works best for you. Try to plan for that. Okay, so that is all of the questions. I do want to make it clear that I'm not trying to tell you to come to Spain or even to move at all, but I am saying that if there's any part inside of you telling you that it's time for you to try something new, don't be afraid to listen to it. Maybe you don't need to know exactly where it is that you need to go. Maybe it's more so about reevaluating what's not currently fitting in your life. You are allowed to pivot, and you are allowed to begin again. So just give yourself permission to. And if you've ever dreamed about starting over, or you're literally in the midst of it, you're not alone. I am right there with you. Let me know in the comments down below what city or life change you've been dreaming about, and I will see you in the next video. Until next time.